in spite of all of those challenges that you've talked about, it would seem that we're also recording some success stories in some areas.
Yes.
Would you kindly tell us some of this?
Oh yeah, we are recording a lot of success stories. I think Jigawa State is a major success story. It's a state that has moved from back to front. You know, it's the only state right now that is putting about 15% of their budget in health. It's the only state that have improved their human resource for health because they have invested in health. So, and you have the midwifery scheme. It's also providing assets because the skilled birth attendant, you know, you find a lot of people coming to the health center before because there are no doctors. So they go to the traditional institution. So you find in these states now, a lot of human resource for health is being put in place. Management information system being put in place. You go to Kaduna State, for instance, one major thing is transport. One of the delays in pregnancy is when they're going to deliver is transport. Access to that place, like I just described one. What we have put in place right now, I say we partnership for transforming health system, which I work for, is to have emergency transport system. We're working with the Road Transport Workers Union to train their members to help women who are in labor to transport them. You know, because most of the time they don't have transport, and this is free. We have trained those people to learn how to drive, how to give, to identify some of those danger signs. So when they see, they know what to do. So they've been trained. We've done it in Kaduna, we've done it in Kano, in Jigawa, and other states. But like in Jigawa, in Kaduna State, for instance, the wife of the former governor is the chairperson of that. She actually invested some of her monies. So you have, as of today, we were able to save over 4,000 women's lives as a result of that, over 4,000 women.
So what you seem to be doing is identifying peculiar problems to each particular area and seeing how you can find solutions to them, local solutions to them.
Correct, because like Jigawa State was human resource for health. We focus on human resource for health. You know, Kano State was about management information and how to manage the system. We focus on that. In Kaduna State, we look at those. So that's what I meant earlier on by saying we should learn from Ghana. You know, a lot of Nigerians have gone to the Ghana project, but we have not transformed it here.
The question now will be, how does this fit into the National Health Plan, which you were talking about earlier?
They are part of it. They are there because in the National Health Plan there are 8 priority areas. So it fits in because you're talking about community engagement, community participation. This is about community participation. You're getting people who are in the communities to take part and to take responsibility for ensuring that women don't die in the process of bringing another life to the world. So that's part of the system because there are different components in the National Strategic Health Development Plan. But we must focus on that, and that's why I think every new initiative should take into consideration that National Strategic Health Development Plan. Because we've also put an accountability framework in place, you know, which is the joint annual review. On annual basis, all the development partners with government meet and go around the state to see how far they're going. So we're monitoring the plan on a yearly basis, and we disseminate the information coming from the state. So it's a form of peer review because you're able to provide statistics from the states of what is going on or what is not going on, what we need to focus on, and which states are doing well and which states are not doing well.
Okay. Okay, you talked about initiatives that need to be brought in, private partnership and all of that. But you talked about it earlier, something about the private partnership by the Bill Gates Foundation on polio eradication especially. Now, is that also in line with what you're doing?
Yeah, because you cannot do that outside of the National Strategic Health Development Plan. There's the polio eradication. I think it's very good. If you look at the private sector for health in Nigeria, there are major players. There are villages that the only people you see are the patent medicine vendors. They are the doctors they find. You know, so we must make use of them. What happened with that initiative is that for the first time the private sector is playing an active role because health has been left to the government, so the government is not doing this, the government is not doing that, but the private sector is also making money from this environment. That's what we call corporate social responsibility that they should be doing, because some other places, like a Wekoro cement factory, for instance, the communities around there, that organization should be made to ensure that the health of everybody, because you have smoke going up in the air and these people are inhaling it. If you go to do a study there, you see a pattern of health system or health problems in that area. So there's that corporate social responsibility that most of the private sector should be made to do. So what happened last week is, I think, an effort by Bill Gates, by Dangote, which is very good. I mean, I appreciate that because they are putting their steps in the right direction. But what needs to happen is to make sure that fits into the National Strategic Health Development Plan, that the role of the private sector is clearly defined. But at the same time, they should not make the mistake that have been made in the public sector. So I think we need to unbundle that and say, how do we implement this? How do we network with the government so that you don't run into bureaucracy and then run aground like they say in the shipping industry?
Now, that brings to mind the question of leadership in the health sector. Is that a problem?
Leadership in the health sector has always been a problem, as far as I'm concerned. This is my personal opinion, because there have been, there are people who are in the public, who are in the health sector who are doing great job. But I'm disappointed with people who have been well trained. They've been to the best schools, some of them to Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard, but you still have problems there. The question for me always is, why can't these people perform? And immediately they cross the border to another country, they are shining stars. Why are they not shining? So leadership for me is a problem. And I think the leadership must recognize that the problem of health care in this country are preventable. They are prevented. That's number one. Number two is like, how do you engage the communities? Most of the projects are managed. They are like driven by donors coming, and donors are taking over some of the state responsibility. It shouldn't be happening. We have enough money to run this health system. The donor should come in and provide technical assistance, but not to bankrupt, because at times you have some states just giving up their responsibilities. They run with pen in their hand, go to donors to say, we need money to run this workshop or that workshop. I think we need re-engineering of the health sector. We need to start looking at the various sectors at the grassroots level. What do we do? It should come from bottom up. We must know what is happening at those rural areas. What are they going through? Since I came into this studio, they tell you how many, if God will show you a screen now, how many women have died this morning in Lagos alone. You will be amazed. From bringing another child to the world. That's the way my mother died. And that's why I'm in this business. But they are still dying that same way. If God will also show you a screen to let you know how many children have died this morning.
I was just going to say that, most of the places that you've talked about success stories seems to be, concentrated up north as well. Is that deliberate?
Well, that's where we are working. That's where the focus is. That's where most of the maternal mortality issues are, because whereas we have the national average as the last NDHS as 545, in some states it's up to 2,000 in the north. So that's where the need, that's where you have the need right now. In the south, if you go to your state, for instance, maternal mortality ratio is very low. It's not as high as those. So donors are putting effort to make sure they reduce that in the north. That's why I've mentioned that. It's happening in Lagos. We're working in Lagos. We're working in Enugu.
Do you think we should question the interest of the donors as well?
Well, we can't question the interest of the donors, but the donors work with the National Planning Commission. So if we're going to question anybody, I think we should be questioning the National Planning Commission, because the National Planning Commission have all the statistics, have all the information, have a plan, a strategic plan, and donors come in. It's their responsibility to tell donors, this is the area you should go to.
The reason I ask that is one has to ask, what exactly is it? What is the interest of the donors in ensuring that Nigeria, for instance, has one of the lowest maternal mortality rates in the world? Why do you think that they have that kind of interest?
Well, you have to know the donors are different. You have the bilateral, then you have the private donors. The private donors are people who have made money, like Bill Gates. He's made a lot of money and he's trying to give back to the society that made him. MacArthur Foundation is the same thing. Packard Foundation is the same thing. So those who have responsibility, you know, they want to give back to society. Other state government, a lot of them are political, because like if you look at the UK government, Nigeria is a member of the Commonwealth, and Nigeria used to be a colony. So it's their responsibility to see that things are working well here. But one other thing is that at least it's always good to confine disease in a particular place. You know, you want to make sure it does not come to my country. You know, that could be a remote interest, you know, something about. The major thing is that they see it as their corporate responsibility or something of national interest. One thing related to that, Bill Gates is doing something globally. Dangote has stepped in doing something nationally and also in Africa. The question I will always ask, and I asked when Bill Clinton was here, when this day had a program for him, I asked that question that day, and I'm asking that question. If Dangote is following the steps of Bill Gates, what are our former president doing in following the steps of Clinton and Jimmy Carter? Because that's the way, because we must, if we are trying to talk about donors, we have Nigerians who are rich enough to establish foundation. Danjuma has. There are so many others. What are the former presidents? You know, because the focus is about power. You want to become the next president. You've been president, you want to come back 20 times. You know, but what are you doing for the people that keep voting for you? So I think it's a question we need to ask, because we have not stepped it up. We raised money. My former organization, when we went to Ariaria market, and we raised 750,000 naira in one day from market people. So there are different ways of raising funds. Nigeria is not a poor country. By our standard, we're not. We have not managed our economy well. So the question you're asking about donors, they will continue to come here as long as we continue to beg.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mike Igbo. Thank you for coming on the program. Mr. Mike Igbo is a National Program Manager, Partnership for Transforming Health Systems. Thank you. Well, Sunrise Steady will be back shortly for the home stretch.